Welcome to Paranormal Latte Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Sit back and relax with us. Grab yourself a really good drink. Spend an hour and let's delve into a world of chatter about the mysteries of the unexplained. Whether you are a skeptic or a believer makes no difference. It's not always in your imagination. Enjoy your day. Now that was good. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the audience, United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, its hosts, affiliates, and or Paranormal Latte Podcast, Paranormal Universal Press LLC, and Diamond Point Entertainment LLC. This show is pre-recorded. Now that was good. Good day, everyone, and yes, indeed, thank you again for joining me for another episode of Paranormal Latte Podcast. My name is Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. I am the host and the producer of the show. Today we have a very special guest with us. Mercedez Lucke-Benedict is in the house, everyone. And she is quite a multi-gifted individual. And more so than most people could even imagine, she has the ability to remote view inside people's bodies. And yet she is also a type of massage therapist who has the ability to help potentially, not always, but potentially realign or correct or assist in healing areas that may be in need. Now keep in mind that we're going to talk a little bit more about this in depth, but before we get started, why don't we take a look at a little bit more at the introduction and the biography, Mercedez Lucke-Benedict. My returning guest this evening is Mercedez Lucke-Benedict. Mercedez was seen on The Dead Files on the Travel Channel a few years ago on a show entitled Damned in the Desert. She can also be seen currently on the podcast The Unseen Realm as a producer along with several host exorcists. Her personal story of extreme hauntings and demonic energies terrorized her ranch in which she lives in Arizona. Mercedez has been on numerous podcasts and radio talk shows speaking about the events that occurred within her home and on her property. Mercedez is an energy frequency healer and body, jaw alignment, cranial sacral therapist. She can feel, see, hear, and communicate with and draw spirits. Mercedez is no stranger to unsettled energy and works very hard with those around the world to understand some of the situations they are in. We had a lot to discuss this evening, so sit back as this is going to be a very unique show. And welcome to the program, my guest, Mercedez Lucke-Benedict. Well, good evening, Mercedez, and thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, having you back. I think I interviewed you probably, I don't know, at least a year or two ago. I mean, I've had you on, I think, a couple times. But for those of you who are meeting Mercedez for the very first time, and I suspect you are, we're going to kind of march right through this interview today. So, Mercedez, let's give everyone kind of a little introduction about yourself, because just to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Kelly, thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. So I'm Mercedez Lucke-Benedict, and I am a multiple of just like I am many things, but what I am doing right now is I am the host of a show called Explaining the Unexplainable, which Dr. Kelly has been on, and I'm with that co-host with Bishop Joshua Sparks, who's an exorcist, and that's one of the shows I'm doing. I also am co-producer of the Unseen Realm podcast, and that is with host Archbishop Ronald Feyl Enright from the Saint Michael Order of Exorcists. And so that is a really amazing show that is on every Saturday, and I'm a part of that show and help. It's a call-in with questions. It's really a cutting-edge format, and I've been with that about 2 years. I also recently started a podcast, another one called A Better You Through Prayer and Fasting, because I am a person that has been helped by prayer and fasting, the combination. I've written a book on that, same title, A Better You Through Prayer and Fasting, which you can find on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And so that podcast is bringing in some really amazing people that will talk about health and wellness and fasting and how we combine those together, plus health and wellness in general. So I do that. And I'm also a remote viewer, which I have a book out about remote viewing called Through the Veil, A Journey of Remote Viewing, Spirit Communication and Healing, which is about my life as a remote viewer, and I would call myself a seer. Mm-hmm. And these things happened after 2 near-death accidents that happened to me a long time ago, but it really started me on the path because as a healer. And I'm also a certified continuing education instructor for another part of my life, which is I am a licensed massage therapist. But through this journey, I became where I couldn't walk. I was hurt so bad. So the doctor that ended up actually being able to help me and save my life, and I went to work for him. And that was then I became the head of the department of the TMJ Body Jaw Alignment Department, the program. And so I know sounds like, how did this all happen? Well, it's just the way my life was. And these were some events that were to happen in my life that were to lead me right to this life right now where I'm at, into this place. So I began working for this doctor, and I stayed there with him up until a couple of years ago when he finally did retire. And so it was at that moment that I was able to really go on to my real journey, because I always felt like really helped me and helped change my life and save my life so I could walk. So I felt really devoted to him, and that it was almost like that was over, mm-hmm. and that I could really step into a new part of me, which was continued back a long time ago, because I spent almost 30 years as an actress and a singer and a songwriter and a performer. And that was my life prior to these accidents that set me on to another path as a healer, bizarre as that is. And so if you look, like Dr. Kelly, we were just talking how she has actually downloaded some of my music from Amazon, and some of those songs she downloaded were from my first CD, which I love my music. I never saw myself as anything other than a musician, songwriter. That was my complete dream for my life, to be an actress and a songwriter, mainly to be a singer-songwriter. That was what I loved, and that's what I did. That's what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I toured and everything, and there's somehow things happen, and that's why I'm in the paranormal right now, because paranormal things started to happen. And even back then, I just didn't understand it until, when the accidents hit, and my life was altered. Not only my life was altered, but my energy form, my being was like, part of me was shoved out, or part of me was put in extreme trauma twice. And I believe that I had the 2 out of body experiences at the time. And it was then that I went into a different me. Like, I began to immediately see into the body of people's bodies. And it wasn't easy because I didn't know what was happening, but I had great trainers. I had great people that were there to help me and teach me. And so right now, this time in my life has been very interesting because at this moment, I just wrote, this year I just wrote that Through the Veil, which really, I had not been sharing my life as a healer. In fact, I didn't, in my circle where I was at with the people, they all knew that. They didn't know me as media. They didn't know me as anybody that was a singer or anything, because I had walked away from that life as a singer. I did a little bit of shows here and there, but I focused on what I felt God was wanting me to do, which was to heal people and to help people.
Yeah.
And so now it's like I've come full circle. Mm-hmm. And I'm living in all my realms. I have my private practice. I'm now teaching these things that I have been working on people. They're my techniques. I mean, they really are. They're specifically things that I've been doing. And so then the other part is I'm writing books I never thought I would write. And actually, I think it was Dr. Kelly that said, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I don't know. But then here I have 3 books now. So she was right. So she is very intuitive. I love animals. So I put into fruition, like a few years back, I felt like I was called to do a 501c3. Well, that took 2 years of just getting it done. But now we are really doing that 501c3, and it is helping bring awareness to the animals. We have my husband is a really amazing artist, and he has put together a exhibit that is called Beautiful Spirit Interactive Art in Motion. And right now we're on our 2nd location. It starts like today and tomorrow at the Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum, which is huge.
Let me jump in here, yeah. Mercedes. Let me jump in here, okay? Yeah. I want to break this up into a few pieces because, yes, a lot of good information, and people are, they have to follow that. And so let me just break it up a little bit so people can digest a few things that she said. So let me take it from here just for the moment. So how Mercedes and I met each other was I saw her on television when she and her husband were presenting this story on how her property essentially had some negativity on there that they were trying to figure out where all this came from. So she has actually been seen on the Dead Files, and I don't know if that runs still in syndication. Does it still run? Mercedes? Yeah,
I was just on the other day. Somebody said, "Hey, you're on the Dead Files," and I'm like, "Oh my God, they're."
So they're in syndication. That's good. Yep. And what season again was that? Do you remember season, and what was the number of the episode?
I think it was the 11th season. I'm not for sure, but it was. I definitely know that it came out in 2020, and it was the season finale of 2020.
Okay, and what was it called?
It was called
Damned in the Desert. One of the things she brought up was that she can do, I think you said body remote. Is it body remote viewing, or is it also physical structure remote viewing? Which one is that?
Pretty much all of it. So I can tune into people's bodies, and also I can go into so like today I'll have a phone session, and and the person's in California, so I will be right there where that person is, tuning into their body, find out what's happening. And I can help from that. I can either work on it or work on the issues, or a lot of times this person in particular likes to ask a lot of questions, and he actually likes to talk about extraterrestrial connections too. So it depends on whatever's happening, and I have to go through my protocol because if it's just me, I won't do the right thing. I mean, I'm just talking, but I have to, if I go through my protocol, then I'm able to tune in and see whatever it has to be. I can see the people, I can see the spirits, I can go to a land, I can go to a house, work the house. And the one way I've always checked myself on this is because most of the time I don't know these people, and I'll get the images and I sketch them. So I'm a sketch artist, and I put those images in one of my new books too. But I can sketch these people out, show them, and they're like, that's it. That's our house. That is our front door. That's our window. That's my uncle. That's where I live. And so I have never been to these places before. And yeah, so that's how it works with me. So I can go into the past. I can go somewhat into the future, but I really say to myself, I'm not so sure if it's more the future, but it's really about the now and the past.
You brought up a good point when she does this. Do you have to go into, and I'm glad you mentioned protocol, because some people, and we've had discussions about this. We won't mention anything direct here because we don't want anyone listening and then realizing we're talking about them kind of thing. But, I don't know if you have to go into like a trance-like state or a very meditative type state when you do this, because it does take a lot of energy for some people who do some channeling or they do whatever they're doing. Do you find that you have to channel or go into a meditative state? What kind of state of being do you have to be in order for you to do your remote viewing, especially if you're dealing with somebody's body or something like that?
So before, when I was learning how to do all this, and I felt like I had it down, I was doing really well with my clients at different things, but I was always trying to stay in a good protective state. But things were just happening, so I would just kind of learn and go with it. There was no real protocol at the time, so I learned from big challenges that occurred with that those entities would come back. Or I would notice that they would be present in the room or space that I would be in. Or it was just like you learn that you better get your protocol down. You better get your protection on, or there is going to be bad things happening. And I was already starting to deal with bad things on the property ourselves. So these have been some things that have been set in stone. One of the main things I learned was through the Ho'oponopono teachings, and I really love that work too, was I learned that prayer and those protocols. So I use the Lord's Prayer and I use the Ho'oponopono prayer always. And part of what I do is, I guess I'll say it, I work like as a universal law enforcement investigator. And this is my first time to share this, but why not? Whatever. People could think I'm crazy or what, but it's what it is. I believe that there is a universal law enforcement and team, and we can. But that's what. There's the other story combined to my story from what had happened about 15. I don't know how many years. It's been a while, but it's weird how something happened to me at a weird time in my life, and then I found out that the same person that had happened from was the same Ho'oponopono person that I had re-met later, and I started to work under her. And so it was like, what is the coincidence on that? But I definitely learned, she helped me to understand that what I was already doing was this type of work, but I needed to understand a little bit more clarity. So, for instance, what I do is I make sure that I call all of those in, and do my prayers, and then I make sure that everything's clear, and I have a way to check. So I can train people to do this too. It's like I feel a right side or a left side, and that's one thing. It's like, so I get my answers, so I can literally answer the questions. But if I do not do these right, like if I'm just told in a spur of the moment, can you help me? And I haven't done that, and I'll do my best to try to do that. I don't feel like I do my best. I do my best if I give me the time to take care of this do my protocol, make sure everyone's safe, make sure everybody is secure. And then that's when I do my best work. I have tried to help people the other way, but I just feel like, so for instance, there was a question with you, Dr. Kelly, we had talked about once, and it was like a spur of the moment thing. Another thing is a lot of times people will ask me about another person, helping another person. But one of the protocols I learned on that was you really have to have that person's permission too, because we don't want to actually kind of, you're going in, it's a protocol in spirit. Like you're going into somebody else's energy, and you can have the permission or you can't have the permission, but it's almost like there's a legal aspect since you worked with law. You think about it. I couldn't go into somebody's house and just start getting stuff out I have to have permission. So I have learned that I'll either make sure that person does know and gives me permission, or other people have given me the permission. And so that's one of the things I've really learned. But as far as what I do, it's been fascinating. Like I have gone into trances many, many times. I start chanting. This was something that before 2019, it was very much part of my life. 2020 is when the pandemic happened, and that was also a lot of trauma and a complete change in my life. But before 2019, 18, 17, yeah, I was definitely a channeler. Like they would verbally come through me, and chanting would be part of really amazing. Actually, I thought sometimes the other day I was driving in my car and I was trying to get down this new song that I want to finish writing. And I had been fasting, and all of a sudden the sound just comes out of my voice, like the chanting came out to the music. And I'm like, oh my God, that was just about 6 weeks ago. So, but it's a high frequency. I can tell now. See, before 2020, I could not really tell what was happening, if they were good or bad. I thought they were all good. I did. They weren't, apparently. So now I have like some sort of sixth sense or some sort of sense in me that, or maybe it's my beautiful spirit. She's very much aware and protective. And so if anything comes near me, I immediately get this crazy feeling inside of me, or I see them, because I see them anyway. But if you're in a state, if you are in a trance or in your meditative state, quiet and calm, then I can see really well. If it is just me walking around the house and all of a sudden I get a weird feeling, I'm not in that state, I'm not as liable to see them than if I'm in a calm state.
Question. I know people are probably wondering about this. When you say I can see them, they're going to ask me this question. What are you seeing exactly? I'll give you an example, and then you tell me if this is the same or something different. So I just recently, I was at a gig. I was a stand-up storyteller, and the gentleman who invited me there was telling a story about how he was doing, or how he does, what is called CE5 experiments. And this is with the grays and the otherworldly type of energies out there. You know, people go outside, they do this thing. And he did tell me, he said, there was a time, and I'm just trying to make a connection here to see if this is the same thing, Mercedes, with you. He said there was a time when he was doing his experiment outside with a couple people, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he was surrounded by translucent grays with the very big almond-shaped type eyes, those big black eyes. He could see them kind of in a translucent manner, but he could see the eyes more than anything. And so they surrounded him and whoever he was with. And I never did get a chance to ask him what happened and how long did they stay for and all this. So people are probably trying to make it a connection here. Was this anything to do when you say them or see them? Are you talking an otherworldly, translucent type of figure? Are you talking about the grays? Are you talking about something else? Who are you seeing exactly?
I see all of them. I see originally what I was seeing was like I really saw
Put
like
your microphone up.
a veil.
Put your microphone up.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
So like I see things like originally it started where this is right after the accident. I could see in the body clearly, like all of a sudden you like a person's hand or arm. I'm like seeing these light lines through their arms where their pain is. So that's still, I can see where pain is.
Yeah.
I can find that. But as far as the people, originally it started with through a veil. That's why I named the book that, because it was like everybody was through a blurry like lights and so the first animal I started to see was a white horse. So I started seeing animal spirits first, and literally they were very clear. It's very clear visual. And I started seeing the spirits of people like it's a movie, like in a movie screen. And at first it was like I was seeing them in a movie, like all of a sudden I'd be like catapulted into a forest or whatever, and I'm like looking around and like there's a Native American there, which we're right in Native American land. So that was something I saw a lot, still do. Then all of a sudden, instead of, it took a while, but all of a sudden they started looking at me. They would turn their heads and look right at me. And I'll be like, wow, they see me. And so that went on for a long time where all of a sudden, like, I mean, groups like these people would be riding horses and you're just like watching a movie and then they all stop and look at you. So that was some of the most interesting things that were happening. And then, so as far as the extraterrestrials, I just feel as if like originally I think some of the things that were happening was there was some sort of type of group, not like a group of energies. And when I was being worked on, I would be like kind of not being able to move for like 4 hours, but I was very conscious of the time and like not being able to move. And I could feel energies moving through me, and it happened repetitively, day after day, certain days of the week. And I got to be where I could understand, like, oh my gosh, okay, that energy just crisscrossed this way, back and forth. And then the next time, that same energy I'd feel that. So I started to realize these are separate energies working on me. Then there would be another one where you'd feel a different pattern. So my first, it was like a revelation of learning patterns of energy. And it was all very slow process. But the patterns of energy, the patterns of visual, they all came at different levels. So by the time I got through with the patterns of energy I could feel, then I realized they were a spirit. Then it was almost like I got to go to the next level. That's how was a very interesting slow start. And the whole thing was coordinating with the physical work I was doing with the doctor. And most people were like, well, how are you doing that with the doctor? It was a very unusual place. I was in my own room, in a really beautiful room. It's a rural, remote location right outside of like town. So, but it was a real huge office, a wellness center. But our clients were very unique. We had many, many clients, but they were very much people that would actually literally fly there from other countries to be there at this office. And so they were not just your average doctor's office. And they were very intuitive people. A lot of them were very psychic. A lot of them were healers. A lot of them were monks. A lot of them were, the people like the actual Native American Cherokee medicine men, or just people like that were coming and being my clients. And so I learned from each one of them too. I was able to just have a really one-on-one with a lot of people, crystal people that show me how to really work with crystals. And that became a big deal because I learned with the crystals how to elevate that light, to make that light go through to do psychic type surgery on the people I'm working with. And that's another thing I just love that. I love that work. I love working when I get to actually work on people like that. I really feel like I could have just been happy doing that the rest of my life. It's so rewarding. And it's just like you're right in there with spirit. They're right with you. And it's just a wonderful feeling. So that's why I wrote through the veil, because I wanted people to even just have a tiny piece of it to understand it. And I'm sure that there will be more, me being able to take a chance talking like this. Thank you. I get to talk about it.
You know, I have a question for you. Also, so my grandparents, well, on my dad's side, I never really understood. Maybe I do now. Maybe I never will, because I never asked them. So they used to go, or maybe they're just cheap. I don't know. They used to go to a touch doctor. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that and in the connection. And I also want to talk about with you maybe the types of people or situations that might not work so well, because Mercedes and I barely touched the base on any of this, but there are certain individuals, not everything can be probably corrected. So, but the touch doctor thing, let's talk about that first. So my grandmother just barely mentioned when I was a really young kid that they never liked to go to doctors. They would go to this touch doctor who would obviously touch certain places on their body if, they are having difficulty. And then, of course, like I said, the cheap factor, I think they probably left $1 in the basket, because I don't think they ever really charged them anything for it. But is there a difference between what a touch doctor is and something that you do in the practice that you work in?
Well, that's an interesting question. Okay, so I believe that, we call the touch doctor, that would be a person that has the healing abilities. And I mean, let's face it, this is something that is gone through time and space. Every country has people that have been healers, or the people that have that amazing touch. We actually all have these abilities. It's just, how do we enhance them? So a lot of people don't charge. If you're a healer, you do not charge, a lot of them. And I think, and I always have that quandary, like, should I even charge people? A lot of times I don't charge people, but then now, in today's world, most of us we can't do trade by, hey, let's have some fruit, give me some eggs, those days are not really here anymore.
No.
So I think people do understand, and a lot of times, so I'll get back to that question though. But yes, so I think the touch doctor and what I am doing are very much the same. I think that, like I said, we all have that ability. They probably were running the hands over them, like the Ho'oponopono, the Native Americans, all of those people, they all have someone in there that would lay hands on the people. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, again, I think we all have those abilities, and part of the training sessions that I do, or part of the new classes that I do, incorporate all of that. How people don't know. There's a lot of people that call it Reiki or whatever. Sorry, just making noise. I don't know if you can hear him. Sorry.
Oh no, we're good, Mercedes. We're good. It's canceled out, so you're good. Okay, good. So a lot of people will say, well, I'm a Reiki master. I'm Reiki. And I'm like, so I got a lot of those Reiki master people throughout the years. But what I figured out was, once I took one training or two training of Reiki, but it's the same thing. Okay. I don't need to be a Reiki master to do what I'm doing. Nobody needs to be a Reiki master to be able to do this. Yes, there are some methods that they're using. Yes. And we all have ways of teaching, but we all have that ability. So the one thing about that one is there's something about, it's all about symbols and things like that. Well, I mean, I've never had to see symbols to be able to help anybody. And so but I can see what's in the body and I can match that up, or I'll get the message, this is what this person needs. And so then I used to just get up and start, when I was working on a person, and just jot all these things down and say, okay, well, I'm hearing this. Why am I hearing this? And I'd write all these notes. And so then you go back and you try to figure out, well, what did that mean? And sure enough, they always matched. So I knew that they were coming through me. All of it was just the beginning process. So I think it's really great that your grandparents did that. And I really think that people should still look to find those people that can do that.
yeah, you want to make sure there are people with bad intentions. There are people that aren't of the highest intentions, and I wouldn't want them working on me. You know, you can see, like, if this is like a person that's doing something you don't feel like is like part of their normal life, or they're smoking pot, or they're doing, well, I mean, not so much that, but you see that they might be doing other things that are just not the cleanest life, then yeah, you got to watch out for people, because that kind of healing could go into your system too. So I try to be really clear and clean. I don't drink, I don't smoke. So I try to keep all of it, my physical body, clean. So when it does come time to help another, that's what I do. But most of the people that you're probably talking about, they're probably good people on the land, and, you know, good people that tried to help your grandparents.
Yeah, I think my grandfather had, and this is what leads me into this next question for you, is I think they went to the touch doctor when my grandfather had beginning stages of leukemia and or was having, I don't think he ever had surgery, but I thought I remember along the way he had some kind of a gallbladder problem or something. And that leads me to my next question to you about this. You know, not everything might be able to be remedied by something like this. And so can you speak to some, because right now, whoever's listening, and there's an awful lot of people that are going to be watching this and thinking, oh my goodness, you know, she can heal me completely and all this sort of thing. Are there some people that aren't good candidates for this type of work? Because I don't know if you can really heal everything, especially if it's so far gone or so far advanced into something that it's not necessarily. Because my grandfather, yeah, he had the slow leukemia, but unfortunately he died of the slow leukemia. And as far as the gallbladder thing went, I can't remember what the end result was, or if he just simply lived with it. I don't know. How do you speak to those people about who might not be a good candidate for something like this?
That's a good question. And it reminds me of what happened when I was on with George Norrie, that brought that memory. Cause when I was just on there on Coast to Coast, I had a lot of people that called me and they're asking me, can you please help me? And can you have a session with me? And, some of it wasn't about healing, but they were asking, what about this? What's in my body? So again, I have to be in my protocol. I feel like I have to make sure I know when I'm, you know, clear and accurate when I actually do something that serious. So what I find, though, with people is sometimes, sometimes if a bone is broken, a bone is broken. If an accident is already, if an operation has already happened to a person, say, like when I work on a person and they have had a knee replacement, okay? But yet that knee replacement is still fine, but it's affected something else within their hip. And so I'm working on the physical part. You cannot really do anything about what happened to that body already with that knee replacement, but you can work on what's happening from that knee replacement. How can we help unwind that fascia, the fascia strain patterns within the body? I will say that what I mainly do is the physical, like helping release pain out of a body. That's like the best thing I do. I mean, as far as the body, but yet I have done these other things where you can go in and you can pull that energy out of that body, and then they emotionally are completely changed. They feel better, and it continues on. I have known people, and I have not worked on anybody with cancer or anything, but I have known several people that have been healed from cancer by doing this type of work. Dr. Adrian Finkelstein was just on the show talking about how in the 80s or 90s, I can't remember which year, but he was given the diagnosis to not make it. Like he was going to not make it. Mm-hmm. But he took that and he used his energy and knew how to do that, work on it, and he healed himself from cancer completely. Yeah. So who might not be able to do this is people that have something that's going on where they just can lose the doubt. You really have to have complete faith. I mean, it's not easy to have complete faith in a lot of these things. But the fun thing is just trying to give you that opportunity to try it. And then once you try it, then you're like, wow, I do feel different. Like, it's just amazing to me. So I think the people that don't benefit the best are the ones that are, if they are on a type of drinking alcohol, drugs, I mean, things like that. I'm always, or if they do have a lot of unwanted energies attached to them. You and I were talking about a particular person the other day, and when you were talking about this person, I was seeing this person. I don't know this person, but I saw connected to him like 3 or 4 different types of weird energies, people connected on through this guy. Like, he's got like 3 or 4 different energies streaming all around him. Well, he's not doing well. Okay, this person. And so it's like those type of people, you have to get that off of them first. It's like steps. Everything in my life has been steps. I like to get, I mean, I've had that stuff on me. I know. I mean, people would have thought I was a goner. People would have thought that I was never going to make it out of some of the things I've gone through. But I have, because it's just whatever I've learned, or is supposed to be my journey to do that, I guess. But you have to clear off that stuff, and then I have to tell people. Sometimes I've told people that I work with, and I'll work with them over and over, but they won't stop drinking, or they won't stop partying. And I say to them, you have to stop that. If you want to get out of this major depression, or you want to get out of this and change your life and alter your life, that life that's waiting right there for you, that I can see them a beautiful life for them, if they do not be able to release those things that are holding them back, which is hard. It's hard to do. I've had to tell a couple of people that I cannot keep working. You need a psychiatrist. You need a real counselor that is really equipped to help you deal with this or this, because there's certain things like I try my best with people, and I work with them as long as I can, and until I have to say, I can't work with you. Right? We need to, maybe, like for instance, there's a person that it's been almost a year, and they've recently recalled me, but I do know from a friend of a friend of a friend that this person has actually made steps towards taking responsibility for some of the things that was happening, why he or she wasn't able to step forward and move on into something where we could really do some good work on. It's not just about the physical. Some people really want to just make their life. I mean, how can we adjust your life? How can we help your life to be better? How can we see what it is that you're supposed to actually be doing? I feel like part of my mission is like there's so many people that are lost. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And I believe that my beautiful spirit, which is in all of us, not mine, but yours, they know everything. You have a connection that knows every step that you're supposed to take. And what if we could help get rid of the things that are blocking you, whether it's an energy form, it could be energy, it could be something from your past, still connected, hovering over you right now, that you just need to reach out. We need to push it out and get it out and send it to where it needs to go, and never let it come back. And those things are, I find, very rewarding. Helping people.
The one thing that she brings up a good point, though, on is, I could count on 29 hands how many times I've had, even in my own past, something like the black cloud that hangs over your head, and you can't seem to get rid of the black cloud. Well, the problem is it depends on how connected you are to the black cloud. I mean, some people are married and in bad, like divorce-like situations. You've got where you have children. Well, you're probably going to be attached to this black cloud for a long time. But, the thing is, it's not necessarily And you bring up a really good point. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of the black cloud, but this is easier said than done, everybody. And I know because this is my training and my background. You could be on the right path, and then someone all of a sudden kicks you off of your nice path because they see you becoming happier. And some people don't want you to be happy. They want you to be miserable like they are, or whatever. They just want to make your life miserable. And so you're constantly dealing with individuals that you may not ever be able to get off that path. But Mercedes does bring up a really good point too about the alcohol. It's not that she's trying to say don't drink alcohol, because everything is always in moderation. But for those that have real issues with alcohol and some even medications and the whole 10 yards, what she's saying is, unless there's a way to be able to dry out from this stuff a little bit and get control over these issues, you're still going to always somehow, in some way, keep bringing these issues back. But it's a fine line that we walk in life. It's whatever you want to make out of it. Your journey is your journey. But at least we have helpful individuals such as Mercedes who can actually help maybe make things just a little bit better, or at least help you understand how to reroute that energy in you. And so, Mercedes, on that note, I want you to, and we'll have to have you back again on everything. And this was a very fast hour, but this was an excellent discussion regarding her abilities to be able to not just remote view or to see if there's something wrong. Now, one thing you got to be very careful of too is that even though Mercedes does a very exceptional job at what she does with her remote viewing, she can't always that shouldn't stop you from a CT scan or an MRI or something that might actually confirm some of these issues, because the thing is we know how expensive everything is these days. We know that. But don't use Mercedes as a crutch for something else that has to have further diagnostic effort. Would you not agree to that, Mercedes?
Oh, definitely. In fact, the whole time I worked for Medicine Wheel, it's an integrative team. So I worked with all kinds of medical doctors, but the chiropractors and the nurses and different things. And I still do. I still recommend those on my private practice, because we do need to get those scans. And I learned the hard way myself, because I didn't think I needed to go to the doctor. And when I started to get really sick in 2020, 2019, 2021, during pandemic, I wasn't going to go check my blood. But it was when I finally did check my blood, I realized that I had the diabetes too. Okay? I didn't know I had that, but that was a real medical test that I personally, in that time frame I was in, was a little mixed up in my ways. I was not feeling good. That was a rough time, but I learned a lot of things that way. Like, I wish I would have gone and taken that test. So I definitely believe that we need those medical tests, that we also, there are many great doctors. There are some things that you're going to need to have your doctor's permission. Even the fasting that I do, I tell you always see on all the channels and fasting, make sure that you do check with your doctor. There are some people that cannot fast. My husband, Joe, he can fast, but he can only fast for a certain amount of time, but it affects him. So if it affects you in a bad way, you don't want it. Me, I thrive on it. It's better for me. But there are people that need to have the medical tests. So thank you for saying that. I do believe it. And the fun thing about medical tests is then you can really see, like, it's almost like the EVPs on the paranormal. You can see who's there and what's there, and then who's not there and what's not there after you do some cleansings. So it's kind of fun. Desiree Valdez was one of them. She was going blind. She had medical tests. She was blind. She was losing. She was blind, but she healed. It healed. And the test results then came back. It was healed. So the amazing thing, so Desiree is amazing. But God healed her. And so the tests were there to prove what had happened. So how did that happen? I don't know, but it's great to have those tests because you can have the proof of like what's there was there is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, but with God, all is possible. With our great spirit, you may not want to call it God, but great spirit, the spirit connected to us, there's a higher power that is really able to come through a lot of times, all the time. I pray all the time.
Yeah, no, and again, we all have our belief system and everything and everything, but there is something with the power of prayer. I mean, I have to say, I've used it myself, and I have had a few miraculous healings myself. So I can definitely tell you that. Mercedes, go tell everyone a little bit about the books that you have, or just show us the books that you have. Tell us the names of them, how you can get a hold of them, and then, of course, how they can reach out to you.
Okay, great. So I have 3 different books. One is a children's book, and it's called Desert Garden Friends. And that is, you can find that at Barnes & Noble, and it's a coloring activity book that works with our 501c3. Desert Garden Friends, you can find it under Mercedez Lucke-Benedict. Then I've got, I don't know if you can see it because of the blur, but it's a better you through prayer and fasting. And it's also called Unlocking God's Healing Code for the Body, the Soul, and the Nation. And that is a really amazing thing I've been doing. Yesterday, I had my very first actual public prayer and fasting day for America is where I'm starting at, for America. And I think it went really well. We had a couple of people in Canada reach out, or one person in Canada reach out. So I thought that was really neat. And then, so you can find those on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And then I've got Through the Veil, A Journey of Remote Viewing, Spirit Communication, and Healing. It looks like that. And I believe that was actually an ebook also on Barnes & Noble, or it's on ebook on one of those, but you can pick it up on Amazon, and they do a beautiful job. Like, these books are beautiful. I love them. They come quickly. And I just love my books. And so my website is mercedesluckebenedict.com. You can find all of that on there. You can find the show. Everything's on the website on those different pages and chapters. Also in there are my classes, which right now they're just in the physical. So like in Mesa, Arizona, and Tucson, I teach these classes they're a massage CE institutes and things like that. But the public is welcome to come, because they're really for everybody that wants to learn how to heal another person or heal themselves. I try to make it to where it's about pain release. So certain areas that the pain is at, we can learn how to release that pain through the body. If your hands hurt, I've got a class on hands. So I'm also working on getting that online to where it can be a remote type thing. It's not that hard. I just need to figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. And let's see, the music I do, which is actually on Amazon too, or all on the Spotify. It's on Facebook. I'm always using my own songs on Facebook for my posts. And that's a really big thing because it's part of the documentary. And the documentary is not out yet, but there's tons of stuff online about my work, about what's happened. It's all actually online. You just have to look up Mercedez the Therapist, possibly Mercedez the Paranormal. It is Mercedez the Music Person. It's all there. You just got to put the name in and it'll pull up. I am on IMDb because I am an actress too. So all of my actress and singing stuff or work, which is almost 30 years, is all on the IMDb, which is really cool to go back and look and see the resume of all that work I did. So I don't know if there's anything else. Oh, you can check out the interview with George Norrie, which I'm really excited about. Just put in my name with Coast to Coast, and you can hear most of the interview. Mm-hmm. If you want to hear my other interviews on Paraflix with Dr. Kelly, you have to be a member of Paraflix. If I could, I would get on there and get those interviews and share them, but we can't because we're on Paraflix. But there's a lot of stuff on there. I was on the Defeating the Demonic. I went to be a speaker on that last year, and I believe some of that is public. there's just all kinds of things. I don't know if I left anything out or not.
Well, we will have to have you back. That was a very good discussion, though, about your remote viewing. And on that note, for today and until we look again into the future, thank you so very much, Mercedes, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you for watching and listening to Paranormal Latte Podcast. We have been broadcasting on the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans, as well as several listening platforms. The content, music, and creative sound effects as heard on Paranormal Latte Podcast are copyrighted and licensed commercially to Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Please do not reproduce in any manner without the express permission of Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz, Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Paranormal Latte Podcast, and or any affiliated networks such as the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Networks. The opinions and information expressed by the guests, hosts, and sources as heard and seen on the Paranormal Latte Podcast are not necessarily those of Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Paranormal Latte Podcast, and the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Networks, as well as their producers. Although the content of the shows may be interesting, the information and opinions within are deemed for entertainment purposes only. Subscribe to continue your enjoyment and interest, and thank you for making Paranormal Latte Podcast part of your day. Now that was good.